Thank you for staying with us. Continuing with our top stories for this Sunday here on Nile Oracle. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli delivered a recorded speech at the opening session of the 7th Egyptians Abroad Conference that is being held under the theme, "No matter how far we go, Egypt brings us together." The conference was attended by a number of ministers, members of parliament and senate, representatives of ministers and state institutions, as well as Egyptian communities abroad. Madbouli conveyed President Sisi's greetings to the Egyptian community abroad. He also praised the Egyptians abroad for their role at all times, their close follow-up of national affairs, and their response to opportunities provided by the state to invest their savings and expertise in Egypt. Madbouli said that President Sisi directed to provide Egyptian expatriates with all opportunities possible to participate in Egypt's developmental efforts, stressing Egypt's keenness to launch more initiatives to serve the Egyptians abroad. The Prime Minister asserted that Egypt paid great importance to caring for the Egyptian expatriates and taking all possible measures and efforts to enhance their ties with their homeland. And also, Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdel-Ati on Sunday inaugurated the 7th edition of the Egyptians Abroad Conference, organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the theme, "No matter how far we are, Egypt brings us together." Addressing the conference, Abdel-Ati affirmed that President Sisi prioritizes matters concerning Egyptians abroad, as well as his directives to provide them with the highest level of care and support. In his remarks, Dr. Abdel-Ati reaffirmed that Egyptians abroad, the file of Egyptians abroad is a national responsibility that the state is proud to fulfill, adding that maintaining close communication with expatriate communities, listening to their concerns and responding to their needs would remain among the Foreign Ministry's highest priorities. He also emphasized that protecting the rights and dignity of Egyptians abroad and providing them with the best possible services remains a national priority. Abdel-Ati also voiced confidence that the conference's discussions and recommendations would generate new opportunities, practical solutions, additional benefits for Egyptians living abroad, while advancing Egypt's national developmental goals. During his address, Abdel-Ati also announced the launching of the first phase of the interactive website for Egyptians abroad in coordination with the Ministry of Telecommunications and Information. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs participated in the general session entitled "State Policy for Caring for Egyptians Abroad," along with Minister of Health, Dr. Khaled Abdel Ghaffar, Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Abdelaziz Qunsowa, Minister of Finance, Ahmed Koshuk, Minister of Labor, Hassan al-Raddad, as well as Minister of Youth, Gohar Nabil. The session addressed the efforts of state institutions to support Egyptians abroad and enhance the services and initiatives provided to them across various sectors. Dr. Abdel-Ati stressed that addressing the affairs of Egyptians abroad constitutes one of the key pillars of the ministry's work. He further asserted the ministry's keenness to receive inquiries, complaints and proposals from Egyptians abroad, underscoring that the conference represents an important platform for direct dialogue with them and improving the services provided to them. For his part, the Minister of Health assured that his ministry paid great attention for the Egyptian community abroad, asserting that the ministry is extending its utmost efforts to facilitate their access to national health initiatives and provide them with medical services upon their return to Egypt. Also, the Minister of Higher Education reviewed the ministry's efforts to support the Egyptian children abroad in higher education by facilitating their enrollment in Egyptian universities, expanding digital educational services, as well as enhancing academic cooperation. The Minister of Finance displayed the facilities provided by his ministry to the Egyptians abroad. And at the end of the session, the ministers affirmed that caring for the Egyptians abroad remains a top priority for the country. And with us now live over the phone is Dr. Monica William, and Dr. Monica is a professor of international relations. Good evening, Dr. Monica. Always a pleasure to have you with us here on Nile Oracle.
Good evening. Thank you for having me today.
So, Dr. Monica, the ministry itself is called like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Egyptian Expatriates. So I guess from the very beginning, it's very obvious that the state is keen regarding issues related to Egyptians abroad, which, Egypt represents everything for them. Their love for the homeland is obvious. Their expertise is invaluable, and who are also a backbone for the economy, with the remittances coming from Egyptians abroad. So the soft power that Egyptians abroad represent, Dr. Monica, how would you describe it, and how would you describe the state's efforts in staying connected with Egyptians abroad, who, by the way, will always be connected to their homeland, whether, just by nature, because Egyptians love, wherever they live, for them Egypt comes number one, and you know what, sometimes even those who live abroad, feel more love even for the country from those who live at home.
Correct. As you see, and as you mentioned in the introduction, and if we tackle with this a conference of Egyptian abroad, which reflects significant evolution in Egypt's engagement with its overseas community. It is the seventh edition, participation of Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and of course, a lot of, or a whole spectrum of cabinet ministers, you mentioned them, demonstrates that issues concerning Egyptian abroad have become a cross-government priority, not just the responsible of single ministries. The friends of ministers from various sectors enable direct dialogue on investment, education, and digital services, housing and banking, taxation, and of course this whole of government approach signals Egypt's commitment to addressing the Egyptian approach concern through coordinated policy making and institutional responsiveness. Equally important was the equality of participation from Egyptian abroad, as you say, that a conference attracts prominent business leaders, investors, academics, and of course scientists or experts, medical professions, and experts from diverse sectors across multiple countries. Their participation transforms the conference from just event in Egypt to a platform where practical proposals and international best practices and investment opportunities were openly, of course, discussed. At the other part of your questions, the Egyptian efforts or Egyptian procedures for this segment, or of course Egyptian approach, over the past few years, Egypt gradually transformed its approach towards its Egyptian approach to different different initiatives, if we can say it. Egypt adapted more institutional framework that seek to integrate Egyptian approach into national policy making, the creation of dedicated mechanism for dialogue, greater representation in state discussion, and the expansion of channels through which Egyptian approach can communicate their concerns or illustrate not the shift from traditional administration relationship to genuine strategic partnership. This evolving relationship is built on the understanding that Egyptian approach contributes in different ways, through investment, professional expertise, technology transfer, and international networks. Their growing participation in national initiatives demonstrates that government increasingly use this part of Egypt's economic modernization. The economic dimension is part of your question, of course, and it's very important. That transformation is particularly event in or evident proof in the continued growth of inflow during 2026. This year it's very high. And of course, this indicates renewed confidence among Egyptian abroad in the country, economic policies and financial environment. This transfer remains one of Egypt's most resilient sources of foreign currency and the strength in foreign exchange reserve and supporting Egypt's consumption and contribute to macroeconomic stability during the period, of course, marked by global economic uncertainty.
Absolutely. You know, it was very interesting, Dr. Monica, that there were a host of ministers there. And I mean, it was not just the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Migration and Egyptian expatriates, but also we had the health minister attending that session, state policy for caring for Egyptians abroad. We had the Minister of Higher Education, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Labor, the Minister of Youth and Sports. So obviously, this is a collective state effort, and each of those ministries, indeed, has a big file to work with when it comes to Egyptians abroad. I mean, look at the sports ministry, for instance, or the youth and sports ministry. We have a player like Haytham Hassan, for instance, who was playing in Spain and who came to Egypt and played for the national team at the World Cup and performed very well there. So I guess each ministry, indeed, is very important in dealing with specialization with the affairs of Egyptians abroad, because Egyptians are abroad are from all walks of life. They work all professions possible, and all of them are, you know, rich on their own or have a great value of their own. So I guess this is, for the first time, we're seeing this like big collective state effort in having this connection with Egyptians abroad. They deserve, of course, the connection that they deserve, because Egyptians abroad, again, as many say, are the soft power of Egypt.
Indeed, as this another feature of this year conference, which of course the broad participation of cabinet, as we said earlier, it highlights that this file or the affairs of Egyptian abroad not confined to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs alone. It's we can see contract of a minister or responsible for health and higher education, youth and support, and of course housing, and this portfolios were present and reflect a comprehensive whole of government approach. And of course, this high-level representation assure important political message. Egyptians abroad are not just consequently, but it's a strategic national priority, whose interests intersect with multiple public policies. Their needs extend beyond just documentation on to take some services. It includes healthcare, education, investment, and financial and youth engagement. And it's a very important point. Conference demonstrates that Egyptian approach become a cross-cutting national file, require coordinated action across government institutions. It's not isolated initiative. The state is increasingly adopt an integrated governance model in which multiple ministers work collectively to strengthen engagement with Egyptian abroad and facilitate their contribution to national development, and of course reinforce their role as a strategic partner in Egypt's economic and social transformation. So I totally agree when you say it's part of or it's a file which contradicts our collective effort between or among different ministers, and we can tackle with the initiative, which is of course launched by Egyptian state. Your home in Egypt is part of this initiative, and your farm in Egypt, your school in Egypt, your university and of course open your bank account in Egypt. All of these initiatives is to encourage Egyptian abroad to support or to benefit from Egyptian accessibility, Egyptian accessible to university, to financial or to investment. So it's very important.
Indeed, Egyptians abroad, I guess we can sum it up, Dr. Monica, by saying that they are a treasure, the real treasure of Egypt, really. Thank you very much, Dr. Monica William, the Professor of International Relations, as always, for your time and for your insight with us here on Nile Oracle. Again, ladies and gentlemen, our main topic for tonight is Egypt's participation in the summit of the extraordinary summit of troop contributing countries to the African Union support mission in Somalia, AWESOM, and also the Egyptian efforts to push for economic integration within our beloved continent. So we'll be watching now a report about the main topic for tonight, and when we come back we'll have a distinguished guest with us here in the studio to discuss matters with him. Please stay with us.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdelati participated upon directives of President Abdel Fattah Sisi in the second extraordinary summit of countries contributing troops to the African Union support and stabilization mission in Somalia held in Kampala, Uganda. The summit was attended by a number of heads of state and government ministers and senior officials. The minister affirmed Egypt's full support for Somalia and its keenness to continue contributing to all African efforts aimed at consolidating security and stability in Somalia, stemming from its commitment to supporting Somali state institutions and preserving the country's unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity. Abdelati stressed that Somalia's stability represents a key pillar for the security and stability of the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea region, as well as for regional and international peace and security. The foreign minister highlighted the importance of securing sustainable funding for the African Union support and stabilization mission in Somalia, expressing deep concern over the financial challenges facing the mission. He called on international partners and UN Security Council member states to continue supporting the mission and ensure the availability of the necessary logistical and financial resources to enable it to carry out its mandate effectively. Abdelati also stressed the need to maintain the mission and the United Nations Support Office in Somalia while working to support their continuation and provide the required funding in a manner that safeguards Somalia's security, stability and unity. The foreign minister further affirmed that achieving lasting peace and stability in Somalia requires adopting a comprehensive approach that includes supporting national state institutions, promoting economic development, advancing political dialogue among various Somali parties and strengthening counter-terrorism efforts to help consolidate long-term stability. He reiterated Egypt's firm position in support of Somalia's unity, sovereignty and territorial integrity and its rejection of any unilateral measures or steps that could undermine the unity of the Somali state or threaten its stability, particularly Israel's recognition of what is known as Somaliland. Abdelati stressed that preserving Somalia's unity is a fundamental element for the success of regional and international efforts aimed at combating terrorism and achieving security and stability. Meanwhile, the foreign minister affirmed Egypt's readiness to continue providing all forms of support to Somalia, whether through the African Union support and stabilization mission or through bilateral cooperation, drawing on Egypt's extensive experience in combating terrorism, securing borders and building the capacities of national institutions. He noted that such efforts contribute to supporting the Somali people and enhancing